Welcome to the business end. Today's guest played professional rugby across 4 countries, represented Ireland 29 times, and started all 3 tests for the British and Irish Lions in Australia in 2001, in what remains one of the most competitive series the Lions have played in the professional era. Rob Henderson grew up in southwest London, came through London Irish under Clive Woodward, spent 4 years at Wasps under Nigel Melville, winning 1 premiership and 2 cups, moving to Munster in 2001, where he won the Celtic League, the Celtic Cup and the Heineken Cup, and finished his playing days with Toulon in France. On the Lions, he worked under Graham Henry, 3 different leaders across 3 very different environments, all operating under serious pressure. Moo and I were both at London Irish during the early part of his story, so between the 3 of us, there's some shared history that's going to make parts of this conversation a little bit more interesting than normal. Since retiring, he's moved into business, founding Invesco and working as executive consultant, applying the same principles he lived inside as a player. Hendo, welcome to the business end.
Good evening, good morning, boys, all around the globe. How are we?
Very well, Hendo.
Welcome.
Good to see you. Good to have you on the pod. So let's crack on and get into it.
Fitzy, the best part about being here with yourself and Moo 25 years later is the fact that no one would be able to tell who was the prop and who was the centre between the 3 of us.
That was a good guess, I think, Hendo. Judging by our ears.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I will take the compliment.
We'll take the compliment, yeah.
Exactly. So let's get into it. Hendo, you've been very open about the fact that your attitude in the early years of professionalism, the lifestyle, the way you approached the professional game cost you. At what point did you understand, register that the gap between your ability and your output was something you were responsible for? Was there a specific moment, or was it a slow realization?
It's a really good question. I mean, the gap between output and attitude. I always played rugby with a smile on my face. I always looked at rugby as a sport where I could go and flute around my friends. I mean, I was an accidental rugby player. I should have been a soccer player, and probably was a better runner actually back in the day before I found all of the bad habits that most people do when they get to their early teens. And I think when I was playing, I look back and I think that my ability got me so far because I was a big, strong lump. Basically, I had to work on technique, but everyone has to do that. When I trained very hard. When I played to the best of my ability. But perhaps my attitude towards diet, early nights, and hydration was slightly different to most people. And had I done that differently, then perhaps I could have had an even more fruitful career than I did, but I wouldn't be the person that I am. So I think it was a bit of a make-up. But there was a reality at one point when, and I'm sure we'll come on to it later on, midway through professionalism in '99, where I had a massive, major disappointment, and that in itself drove me to actually test myself properly to the limits and to the boundaries, and to see actually how far I could get if I did take it seriously, or as seriously as the elite level sportsmen that I was playing against.
Good.
So going back to London Irish, and obviously you were there with us when, before professionalism, and then when the game went professional. First part of the year, 1996, is when, was it January 97 or end of 96, you left London Irish? The last game you were playing was against Gloucester, and the co-chair, Willie Anderson, he put a chair in the middle of the room and got the players all around you to ask whether we felt or that you were committed enough to play against Gloucester. I mean, what was going through your head in that moment? And could you tell us how the room responded to that, and what you think it meant as a leader for Willie Anderson to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, London Irish was my first senior club that I played for. I played junior rugby for Kingston, joined London Irish. I was there with Hickey Reid. He was the first coach that was there. Then in came Sir Clive. Both of them completely different animals. the game turned professional, and then came in a real animal. In came the big bag, Willie Henderson, and each one of them had their own different ways of doing things, their own elements, their own special formula that they brought to inspire their team, either mentally, physically, technically, tactically, whichever way around that is. And the game had gone pro. I think I was the second longest serving player in the first team in London Irish at the time. But because it was a professional game, and again, this I think goes back to what we mentioned earlier about testing yourself. When a team comes in that are arguably marginally better results-wise than London Irish have been, I'm not going to say a better team or a better club, because London Irish was magnificent. I mean, it's one of the only clubs I've ever played for that had more people in the bar afterwards than actually watching the game. So that shows you what it was like from the amateur era moving into the professional sport. But when a team like Wasps comes into you, one of the top teams in the Premiership, and say we'd like to buy your contract, we'd like you to come and join us, then it's difficult to say no to when it's your career. And actually that particular incident, I'll never forget it as long as I live. And as I say, Willie had his own way of doing things. He was a hard man. He was a strong, tough rugby player, and he brought that attitude into his coaching. There was never a quarter given or taken in any of his sessions. If you remember that rucking net that we used to fly under, and Ken O'Connell nearly decapitated himself
Still
because he
got a
couldn't
scar,
see
Hendo,
it.
running into it.
Yeah.
He remembers it.
Oh yes.
So, and I'm leaving the club, and basically before the game, it might have been, I don't think it was the morning of the game, obviously, but the week of the game leading up to it, we go down into the downstairs room, and there's a chair in the middle, and there's a load of chairs outside. And basically, Willie came in and asked me to sit in a chair in the middle of the room with all of my peers and players that I played with for 3, 4, 5 years sitting around. And he said, "Listen, Rob's Hendo's on his way. He's going to leave in December. He's going to start playing for Wasps in January. He's got this one last league game that he's available for selection." He said, "It's not up for me as a coach to choose. It's up for you players to see whether you think that it is right for him to play in this game, whether you have belief and trust in him to play in this game, and I'll leave the decision to you." And to be honest with you, it's quite a bitter pill to swallow and difficult to take, because these are guys that you've been in the trenches with. You've trained hard with them, you've partied hard with them, you've played hard with them, and you've had highs and lows across your multiple seasons. And then for your attitude to be questioned as a professional is really difficult. And take the professionalism out of the equation, because the game had only been pro for a year, but not even 6 months. To have your character questioned, I think, is really, really hard. And to be fair, Willie took himself out of this situation. He let the boys decide, and it was interesting to see how many of the players said yes and how many of the players said no. I think the biggest no that made me shocked was Gary Halpin, our skipper, who was one of my best mates, and he said no, he shouldn't play. And you're sitting there thinking, Gary, what are you doing, man? We've been over the whitewash many, many times, even in the matches where you have to go off and move your car because you're blocking the St John's ambulance. But so leaving that decision-making process to the team, in essence. So no matter whether Willie wanted me to play or not, he was never going to get that decision put onto him. He was giving it up to the players. Now, obviously, me personally, you boys know me. We've played many times together and against each other across the years. And my attitude is that if you're part of a team, you give your 100%. You can't give any more than 100%. You give your entire attitude, your body, mind, and soul. And for that to be questioned, for my last opportunity to represent a club that I really loved, was difficult to take.
Do you think, two things from that moment, Hendo? Do you think, looking back on it, actually Willie was showing you the ultimate respect by doing that?
No, I think he had a massive cop-out. I think he wanted to... I think he probably didn't even want to pick me, and then was leaving it up to the boys to make that decision. So, I mean, I call it a cop-out. Other people would say that it's giving the floor to the masses, and we all know what happens when lunatics run the asylum. But I don't understand the process. He had it in his mind. I mean, I ended up playing the game in the end, and really pulling out stops as much as I could and performed to the best that I could on that particular day, knowing it was my last chance pulling on a London Irish jersey. So his decision making, I don't know. Would I have done it? Probably not. Certainly, but then again, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? No one's ever been wrong with hindsight. So I think giving the responsibility to the players, and I think that's what good leaders do. Good leaders give responsibility to their teams, and that's what he was doing. He was giving responsibility to the teams. He was also, I suppose, questioning me without questioning me, if you know, the reader between the lines. So he was getting as much psychological information and data out of the whole group, let alone me and the people that were sitting around, without actually asking penetrative questions. We're doing it to ourselves, amongst ourselves, and the outcome will be the outcome.
And as you just said, the outcome was you had a blinder. So it was, I mean, as you said, you've always played with your heart on your sleeve, and we were a very, very tight bunch, in those days. But did that get 5%, extra out of you, 10% extra out of you as a swan song before you sailed off? Again, it's to say hindsight's a great thing. Did that contribute to it? I mean, who knows?
I'd like to think no. I'm thinking back. I don't know whether I got man of the match in that game, but I think one of my first league games, not the very first league game I played for London Irish, was against Bristol at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd lost the game 16-0. Hickory was the coach. I was on the wing. We had a move called Pig Dog, which is basically bring the big fat lad in off the wing, trundle it up the middle, and see what happens. The night before, going back to attitude, I'd gone out to have a couple of pints in the Red Lion in Teddington of orange juice and lemonade. But unfortunately, one of my friends turned up. I ended up having a really late night. But I turned up the following morning and played as well as I could have played.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there has to be some external forces that drive performance, but it also starts with the top 4 inches in any individual.
For sure.
And I think that strength of mindset and culture that we gave to each other as players, by the way, coming all the way through up the youth ranks into the senior team, being friends, being workmates now that we're all being paid for it. There was almost a desire not to let anyone down, plus the fact that I hate losing more than I like winning. So if there's ever a negative, I try and turn that into a positive. And obviously after that meeting, I thought about it seriously. I probably shed a tear or two without being macho about it, because it means a lot to me.
Sure.
My friends mean a lot to me. My rugby meant a lot to me, and London Irish meant a lot to me. So I think, did he get an extra few millimetres? Who can tell? I'd like to think that I'd have played the same way had that incident not happened. But there's no animosity against Willie. Willie's a great man, a great coach, was a great player, and actually I did leave a message for him recently. He came up in conversation, so so there's definitely no personal animosity there at all.
Very good.
I mean, fairness, there was no reaction to that. How did you stay calm? And I mean, that's the ultimate pressure moment, being questioned by your own peers on commitment. I mean, how do you stay calm under the pressure? I mean, in fairness, Bruce in the pudding, how you reacted with the game against Gloucester and played so well. But I mean, in fairness, you're staying calm under that amount of pressure is all says a lot about your character, really.
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, I've never had anything given to me on a plate, to be perfectly honest with you. Being brought up in a single parent household in a council flat in New Malden, and everyone telling you that you're not worthy, you're not good enough for so long, you kind of get tough to it, and you get tough physically, you get tough mentally, and you learn to not focus on those negative moments, not focus on those mental frailties maybe, and just be really strong of mind and character and have belief and faith in yourself. Because I think if you've got faith in yourself and ingrown belief, which by the way is rubbed off on people like you boys, so the people around you give you faith and trust and hope and belief, etc., etc. So there's a lovely phrase that a friend of mine's mother from Donore Avenue in Dublin says. She says, "Show me your friends and I'll tell you what you are." And when you surround yourself with good people, with people of good character, with people that are strong mentally, with people that are composed, even if you weren't that at the start, you actually almost revert to type, and monkey see, monkey do, and it then becomes your neural pathways open up, and that becomes your go-to, your default position. So just it didn't happen because of that incident. It happened over a long period of time and a long period of obstacles that have been put in my way that I've managed to, I suppose, muddle through and use it to my advantage.
So we alluded to this in our first question. Let's go back to 1999. You played all the way through the Five Nations as it was back then. You'd had a strong tournament. We were building up to the 99 World Cup. I was there with you, and I don't think my opinion was any different from anybody else was in the squad there. The fans, the press, the rugby community, that you were going to be part of that 99 World Cup and be in the Ireland squad. When the team was announced, I think we were all shocked, and I'm quite sure you were. It didn't seem to make a lot of sense at the time. Can you take us back to that moment in time? What happened, in the days after that call, and how did you make sense of it? Was there a conversation with you to explain why you weren't going to be in the squad coming up to the World Cup?
99. Obviously, I'd left London Irish. I'd had a couple of good seasons with Wasps. We'd won 2 or 3 trophies. I'd managed to break into the Ireland team. I performed well in all the matches I played in. I was man of the match in the game against France in Dublin, one where we lost 10-9. I don't know. Paul Wallace comes over the top, and gives away a penalty
in the last couple of minutes.
Jackie Humphreys misses a kick to win it. Ugh. Yeah. Even though Rella or Gatti had washed his boots with holy water the night before. Yeah. So that didn't help, did it? No. There was no divine intervention. There was a 33-man panel for the World Cup in '99. There was rumours that I was nearby in '95, but I'd only just hit the scene. '99, I thought it was a shoo-in, and there was a 33-man squad, as I say. 2 players got removed from the panel, and that was myself and Anthony Foley. We were the 2 that got dropped off the squad, and we're both devastated, absolutely devastated, because the World Cup there'd only been 3 or 4 of them previously, 87, 91, 95. This was going to be the 4th one. And when you're a professional sportsman, or when you're a professional, you want to reach the pinnacle of wherever you are, and compete against the best and perform against the best and test yourself. So being dropped from that, and I got the phone call from Donald Lenihan, and he said, "Listen, it was very tight, but unfortunately you've not made the grade." And there's not a lot you can say. You can't. There's no point saying why. There's no point asking, "Are you going to change your mind?" It's like a referee giving a red card. He's not going to change his mind. The decision's been made. Now, it's a 3-man panel, and the thing that's made me laugh in the years afterwards is that I think it was Donald Lenihan, it was Philip Danaher, and it was Warren Gatland making the decision. And I've met all 3 of them independently over the last 26 years, 27 years, whatever it is. And I've cornered them all. I've still not given up on this because I'm going to get to the bottom of it. So I'd say to Mannix, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I voted for you, kid." And then I said to Phil Danaher when he was on his own, I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I voted for you, kid." And then I speak to Gatti, and he said, "Well, I voted for you, so 3 people voted me in the 3-man panel. How come I didn't go?" So someone there's 2 or 3 people that are throwing me a dummy. But when you get that bad news, and obviously it wasn't that successful a championship for Ireland. I mean, we've not had a great turnout. We've never got past the quarterfinals as a team, but watching it and thinking and that had I been involved, that maybe I could have made a difference. And maybe that's ego. I don't know. Maybe I couldn't have done. Maybe I'd have twisted my ankle on the coach going to training. Who knows? But you sit there when you're not involved. You're still hoping the team wins, but you're hoping that you miss. If you know what I mean. So
For sure.
that someone would realise that they've made a mistake. And one of those things that I remember sitting on an inflatable Guinness chair in a pub in Battersea watching one of the games, and
As one does.
It was just as one does, and yeah, I think I probably went off the rails for 6-8 weeks, and maybe went out even more than I used to do, and what have you. And then there was a realisation. I woke up one morning thinking, okay, we haven't got very far in this World Cup. I've been dropped for whatever reason. You're a really good club player. You're an okay international. If you're happy with that, carry on doing what you're doing. And this is going back to your very first question, Fitzy, about what was the seminal moment. And that was probably it. It was a question of, right, if I actually want to give myself a shot at testing myself to be up against the best, if I don't want it to just be lip service, if I don't want to let other people down that are putting their time, their effort, their faith in me, then actually try. And my methods of getting there were slightly different. I picked up a Yellow Pages, and I just looked through the Yellow Pages. I found a fitness advisor. Half of the Wasp team were getting coached, I believe, by a great coach called Margot Wells. I didn't want to go down that route. I wanted it to be my decision and what have you. So I found a chap called Warren Lockland in Weybridge, and we met. He was an athletics coach. I asked him to train me. He didn't really know a lot about rugby. And he said, yeah, absolutely, I will. But you've got to commit to it. So he said, you've come to me, remember, so you've got to commit. And in fairness, I did. So I trained with him 3-4 times a day, 5 days a week, for 14 months. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I've never been fitter. I've never been stronger. I've never been quicker. My speed of mind, as well as physically, mentally and physically, I was in a better shape. My diet was better. Not really, a little bit. I'm not going to say I was a saint because I wasn't. If I wanted to eat whatever I wanted, I did. If I drank whatever I wanted, I did. Unfortunately, I smoked at the time as well, but I'd limited that. I'd even cut that down. So I'd curbed all the badness, and I doubled down on all the good things that I had going on in my ability. And I had one of the best seasons I've ever had. So I think there's a lesson in itself that hard work and application do actually bear results. I mean, you need a bit of a slice of luck as well. But at the end of that particular phase, I got selected to play for the British and Irish Lions. Now, that doesn't happen by accident. That's hours and hours of training. That's dedication. That's sacrifice. That's looking at yourself as an individual and saying, yes, I've got issues, I've got problems, I've got failings. I'm not the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. I never was all throughout my career. That's the closest I ever got to it, and I wasn't even 50% of the way through. But being able to look at your frailties and your positives, not be ashamed of your positives, and not be blind to your negatives, and then try and harness all of that. If you're great at one thing, be really great at it. If you're terrible at something, well, if it's not essential, then you don't need to work that hard on it. But if it is essential to what you need to do, then you need to work double, trebly as hard. And it was a kick up the backside that I probably needed at that time. I was 26 actually when I got dropped for the World Cup, and I was 28 when I played for the Lions. And so it didn't happen overnight. I had technical ability, I had physical ability, but the mental strength that I'd shown in previous episodes, I really had to double down on that and work on myself. on and off the field. So in essence, what I need to do is I need to thank the three boys for dropping me, because if they hadn't dropped me, then maybe I'd have carried on in the same vein that I did, and have been happy with making a World Cup and not challenging myself to go that one step further.
Which just shows you the
Yeah.
power of turning a negative into a positive. You know, I mean, none of us get out of a life without some disruption or problems or blockages. But you can accept that, or you can do what you did there, which speaks volumes about you as an individual. You know, look at it, brush yourself down, and make a plan and work that plan daily.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a very simple thing. I mean, there's a good decision, there's a bad decision, and the bit that is the worst of all of them is no decision.
Mm-hmm.
So if you fully commit to a good decision, you know, chances are it'll come off. If you fully commit to a bad decision, there's a possibility it'll come off. But if you make no decision, then there's no chance.
Exactly.
So it's doing something, sticking to it, picking your lane, and going for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've managed teams. Fortunately, since I finished playing, I've managed teams, and I've given a lot of people latitude. When I say I've managed teams, we've worked together. I've never said, "I'm your boss, you're my employee, you're part of my team." No, we're one team.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a level, flat structure. I'll rely on you as much as you rely on me, and everybody's got a voice. But you've got to commit to this as much as I do.
Yeah.
And that definitely was born out of the trials and tribulations over my previous incantations as a professional rugby player.
For sure.
So, Hendo, on that point,
That's incarnation, not incantation. I think incantation is a bit of homina, isn't it? I don't know.
We knew what you meant.
So, you know what you meant. Yeah, but just going back, just too quick, because you've actually answered my next question, so you completely put me off script here, Hendo. But 1999, when you weren't picked, did you immediately question, or did you go away and think about it? I mean, there's no right or wrong here. I mean, what I'm trying to say, it takes a lot of courage when you haven't been picked to question why you haven't been picked. Did you do that?
Well, I didn't. As I said to you, I didn't ask for anyone else's reasons or rationale why I wasn't picked. I decided to look at myself first, because when you're asked a difficult question, whether you're in sport, whether you're in business, whether it's your home life, if you're asked a difficult question and you don't want to answer it, sometimes you get a different answer than the truth or the reality. So I just had to figure this out and look at myself and say, right, what is good about what you as a player? What is bad about you as a player? What are your strengths mentally, physically? What are your weaknesses mentally? Do my own SWOT analysis, and in essence, and then figure out, okay, well, if I want to go from A to B, I know it's in a straight line is the quickest route, but I've got to take a few steps to be able to get there. So a lot of the time, people focus on the destination. They focus on, I want to play here. They don't concentrate or focus enough on the journey that it takes to get there, because a lot of people want things, and in today's disposable throwaway society, people want things and they want it now, they want it yesterday. They already want that knowledge, but it takes time to do that. It takes time to build up process, structure, what have you. So building those steps and learning along the way, because you might find off you're going down one direction and actually have to come back and then start again and go again. But having the strength of will, the strength of character to be able to do that, I think, is what sets professionals apart from one another, let alone elite professionals, but professionals. The ability to question yourself and then change tack, change track, and then ask for help, ask for assistance along the way.
Yeah, it starts from yourself. And then when, 8 weeks later, when you're floating on a inflatable Guinness flamingo or whatever in a swimming pool in Battersea and the penny dropped, did someone see you there, or did someone have a word and say, Hendo, you've got so much ability, what are you doing? Or once again, did that come from yourself?
Yeah, well, there's a phrase that we'll have heard a million times. You should be out there, kid. You should be there, kid. You should be there. And And I never wanted to be one of those, I coulda. I never wanted to be one of them. Yeah, I could have done that if I'd have tried harder. Well, you didn't. So
Yeah.
don't. It's like not voting at an election. Don't not cast a vote and then complain about who gets in power, whoever it may be. By the way, this isn't a political whatever. But if you want to change something, change it. But it's got to start with you as an individual. And when people are saying you should have been there, you could have been there, wish you were there, and you're thinking, well, actually, yeah, let me have a look why I'm not there, and look at myself first. And then if I work on the best version of myself, then that's only going to be better for the best part of the team. Because rugby is one of those sports where it doesn't matter how good you are individually. If you don't fit in, conform to a team ethos, a team environment, if you don't give yourself to others, then you won't get any recognition further down the line when it does get to 1, 2, 3 of you coming out of that team and going into a different team. So club to international, international to Lions. It doesn't happen individually. The strength of character and will comes from an individual, but the team collaboration and that unity, that's really essential as well. So 99, listening to what other people say I should have been there, thinking actually, do you know what? Get off of your pity pony that you're sitting on at the moment, and let's really work and generate something for the future.
Do you think that strength of character can be taught, Hendo, or is it just like natural?
Do you know what? It can. Everyone. There's no child that's ever been born, I believe, that is born bad, is born whatever. Do you know? They're not, and it's all about getting the right environment, in place. I mean, you look at the movie Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of them lives on an island. He's coached by professors. The other one is in New York, wherever he is, and he's on the wrong side of the streets. But fundamentally, they're from the same embryo. So, or the same parentage. But opportunity, environment gives you different things. And as I mentioned earlier on, if you surround yourself with good people, and sometimes it's really difficult, and people don't get that opportunity. So I've been in teams where I haven't had that chance or opportunity, where you don't have a voice, where you feel undervalued, where you don't feel good enough, where you've got that imposter syndrome sitting over the top of you. I've been there. I've seen it. I've done it myself. And similarly in the workplace environment, if you've got all of those things hanging over your head, how can you be the best version of yourself? How can you contribute in the best possible way? So as I said to you earlier on, and this is it's always been my mantra. This has always been about a team. I mean, and again to you boys and to everyone that I've played with and along the journey, everyone has been part of my success, and I've been part of their failures. So that's the way that I like to look at things. So when things have gone really well, I've got other people to thank. It's not just me. You've got to have individual resilience, but you've got to also acknowledge that there's more than one moving part in this machine.
I think that I mean, what you've just said there and just before was fascinating. So I mean, for me, there's 4 parts to it. So you've analysed the disappointment, you've looked at your own strengths, weaknesses, you set a destination, right? I want to be the best player that I can be. Okay, whatever that looks like, right? But and maybe you had in your mind you wanted to be a Lion, and maybe it was just to get back into the Irish team, be the best version of yourself. So I don't know. So you set that destination, you put a plan in place, and ask for help with the fitness guy, and what you were going to give up, what you were going to add to your daily routine. But the little piece of the puzzle that I think makes all of that come together nicely, and I'd love to know your opinion, was that consistency part. And you kind of alluded to this in so much as that, a lot of people, they can analyze it, they can set a destination or a goal, they can, start to work through a plan, but often give up before it's had the fruits of being born, so to speak, and that consistency, because again, it wasn't a 5-minute fix, right, to get from that disappointment of not making the World Cup squad to pulling on that famous red jersey in Australia. Was that daily knocking on the stone, being the best version of you, pushing yourself, sacrificing, etc., etc.
Well, that's what it's down to, really. With anybody in any walk of life, you've got to keep going back to the well. And another phrase, and I hate to throw out all these cliches, but if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, and it's in those hard moments, and it's in those dark times, and once you've got to where you want to be, and it was a really good point you made there, Fitzy. It wasn't to be a British and Irish Lion. It wasn't to be the starting centre for Ireland. It was for me to be the best version of me, and anything else after that happens. So if you don't put yourself in a position to be the best version of yourself, then you're never going to be, which means that other people won't see it. And no matter whether you are the greatest, I don't know, spot welder in the world, if you're the greatest accountant in the world, whatever it is, whatever walk of life you're in, if you don't put yourself, test yourself, challenge yourself to be the best version of yourself, stop looking at, as I say, stop looking at what's down the road. Stop looking at being number one in whatever. Be number one in here first, and then anything else, any accolades and the rest of it, that will come. Because one thing you'll have is peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You will have peace of mind and comfort in the fact that, okay, I didn't play for the Lions, but I did everything that I could in my power to get there. And it might be down to a bit of someone else was brilliant at the time, other people were brilliant, might have been injury, might have been whatever, but I put myself into that position. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big thing. I've got three daughters, 3 teenage daughters, and I say to each of them on a regular basis, guys, I don't mind what you do with your lives. It's your lives, but just be the best version of yourselves. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be X, be the best version of you in that. In Y, be the best version of you in that. And it's that simple. So don't focus on the destination. Enjoy the journey, because that's half the fun. Because when you do get there, if you ever get there, the peace of mind when you look back and you can smile at the tough times, that was really, really difficult. Mm-hmm. I had some difficult conversations. I felt inadequate. I was broken at one point, but because of the people around me, my family, my friends, my support network, and what have you, they've actually enabled me to keep it together and then to step forward. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah, and weirdly, acting like that takes a lot of pressure off yourself as well, because you're never worried about a result. You just do the best, and that's all you can do. So
that's exactly it, Mo. It's exactly it. So basically, I was born in Dover. So my mum's Irish. My father is Scots-Indian.
Yeah.
Just saying, Fitzy, Moo was saying he didn't realise about my upbringing. So my mother's Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad's half Scottish, half Indian. I was born in Dover, which I suppose nearly makes me European, and that was it. And we lived down there for 5-6 years. We moved up to London. My parents split in 78, 79. Mum brought me and my brother and sister up in a council flat above a sweet shop in New Malden. She worked 3 jobs a day just to try and eke us out. So I was much of my mental resilience to Mad Liz as I do to anything else, because you see the hardship and what she went through to give us the best start. I used to, by the way, and this is going back, as I said, Fitzy, a long time. The journey wasn't just going from that seminal moment sitting on a chair in the middle of the lads at London Irish. The journey started all the way back then, because I went to Tiffin Grammar in Kingston, which I passed my 11 plus. I went there. I wasn't as smart as these other kids. I didn't feel I was. I was definitely an imposter syndrome there. They all came from wealthy families. They all spoke differently than I did. They all lived in lovely houses elsewhere. So I'm absolutely the black sheep in my mind, of what was going on there. And when a teacher told me that a place was wasted there on me, I said it to my mother, and Liz marched down to the school the following morning and grabbed the said teacher by the throat. I won't mention his name, but Terry Peters. I hope you're having a great time now, lad. And grabbed him by the throat and said, "Don't you ever say that? Don't you ever say that to my son again, or I'll throw you out the window." At which point, one of the other teachers said, "I hope you don't, Mrs. Henderson. We're on the first floor."
Very good.
So,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and just right.
So yeah. I mean, so just going back to that. So yeah, all of that. I used to think, right, I can't tell anyone. I couldn't tell anyone. So when letters were coming home, Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, I didn't have the strength to be able to say to them, well, actually, it's just Mrs. Henderson because my parents are divorced. And it was just that bringing people back to the house. I didn't want to do that, and just having that almost self-embarrassment, I suppose it was. But now, I'm the wrong side of 50, and it's a badge of honour, and it's difficult to accept your failings when you're starting a journey, when you're younger and you don't have any experience, and there aren't that many people around to give you that support. So I mean, if I was going to say anything to anyone that is starting their journey, sport or else or otherwise, you're not alone. And by the way, everyone's got their own things behind closed doors that are going off, and just react and try and surround yourself with those good people that you can trust, people that trust you, and be as open and as honest, because the more things you push down, the harder it is to climb back out.
Well, it shows just how comfortable you are in your skin, and that's a process. I think the point you made there. I mean, it's difficult at the start of your journey, but as you surround yourself with good people, and you have these successes and sometimes setbacks, you do become much more comfortable, and you just you are who you are, and you've achieved so much, Hendo.
Well, thank you, man. But one of the things it has taught me, and it's something that I've had for a reasonable amount of time, I'd like to think, is empathy. Mm-hmm. And this is something that's getting lost in today's society, is empathy, because everything, mm-hmm. as I say, it's a disposable society. Everyone wants everything yesterday. Mm-hmm. AI is increasing efficiency, increasing business efficiency. We can 3x your output, blah 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 blah. Okay, but I've never seen an AI computer shake someone's hand or give someone a cuddle when they're feeling down, or listen to someone when they need to talk. It doesn't do that. And
no,
we need to, and that's actually part of the reason I set up the business that I've got now, is because we want to have a professional attitude. We want to be looked on like a big four expertise, but with a Jerry Maguire attitude, because we literally, I think that what makes a good employee and what makes a good leader and what makes organisations tick, whether it's sport or commerce, is empathy, because being able to get individuals comfortable increases your output.
For sure.
Anyone can type into a computer.
Yeah, no, 100%, and it's there's so much of that, as we know, in a sports team environment. So being able to bring that is just changing the setting, so to speak. We're moving into a business thing, so wish you every success with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Want to change tacks and go back to your Lions experience. It is the top of the mountain for a British or an Irish player. You've got 35 players all being used to playing, being the best for their club, their province, their country, suddenly competing for the same jersey in a squad that's been together for a short amount of time. How, if you can go back to sort of 2001, how did that internal competition in the midfield play out? You had Cat, Greenwood, Gibbs, O'Driscoll, some of the most storied names in rugby of that generation. What was the competition like? Was it healthy, or was there something harder? Can you explain it to us?
When you're surrounded by good players, you want to play the best that you can. It's that simple, and we've all played against all of those players multiple times. Played with and against them at club and international level, and suddenly when you've got four teams coming together to try and create one environment, do you know what? It's almost easier when you get there. If you had four club teams coming together, I think it'd be more cliquey. But because you've got four international teams coming together, it's difficult. Don't get me wrong, and trying to get that right blend of culture together, of entertainment together, because that's really important. If you're going to take on the best in the world in their own backyard, you need to be united. So cohesion, get the entertainment right, get the focus right, get the attitude, the direction, compatibility. All of those things are really difficult, and it's a tough job for coaches to do. But by the time you're playing for the British and Irish Lions, you're already an international predominantly. There's maybe the odd one that hasn't in the past. I think Will Greenwood might have been the last one in '97. But so you've got a lot of people that are already playing international rugby. They understand the pressures of international rugby. The pressure of playing for the British and Irish Lions is also difficult. It's a step up again, because this is something that happens every 4 years for us. But if you're a foreign player, you only get to play against them every 12 years. So there's a really big stage, global stage to play on. And genuinely, everyone wants to be in their team. Everybody. And whoever says, no, I'm there to support and to make sure that that everyone's enjoying their experience, rubbish. Everyone wants to be on the team. But you train hard, you socialise, you get to learn and understand a little bit about other people, about how other people communicate, about how other people apply themselves. Training, eating, sleeping, relaxing, mental strength. So you're taking in drawing in all of these good elements and bad elements, and then you're diffusing them again, and you're keeping the ball. Then when it comes to actually the training and the matches and building a team, as that grows through the tour, and you get to the business end where it is, okay, this is the test team. It is all about support. I mean, one of the greatest British and Irish Lions is Jason Leonard. I mean, he, from a support perspective, from a playing perspective and a support perspective, if anyone, it didn't matter whether they were a forward, a back, a prop, a winger, whatever, he had this innate ability to see when someone needed just a little hand up, when someone needed a little bit of technical advice, when someone needed a bollocking. So that carrot and stick element. But genuinely, everyone that gets together in that squad wants the team to compete. And leaving the jersey, and it's been said in many, many teams, but leaving that jersey in a better place for the person that's coming next, because it's only on loan to you, whether you're in the midweek team, the test team, whatever it is, that jersey is on loan because someone's coming behind you. So therefore, you've got to give it your best shot when you're in the jersey, and to give it your best shot as a support staff or support player, or someone that's not made that team, honestly, it gives you such confidence and such belief, because you've got players that have done it on the world stage, supporting you, giving you some advice, giving you encouragement, and I would like to think that I'd have been in exactly the same situation and would have reacted in the same way had other people have been selected instead of me.
So you go on, sorry, man. I was going to say, so I mean, you obviously, as we've talked about earlier, put a lot of work into your physical conditioning. You were playing very well that season, obviously, to get yourself on the squad sheet, on the plane to go to Australia. What was your mindset going into it? I mean, as I said, there were some very storied names there that had been on previous trips. What was your personal mindset? How were you approaching specifically, putting your best foot forward to get, to hopefully, which you did achieve, getting on that test side?
Well, again, I'm just going to go back to I hadn't focused on the test team at all. Becoming a British and Irish Lion was incredible. There's not many people that have done that over the course of since 1888, and I think getting on the plane was one thing. I was in great physical condition. I really was. I was in the best condition of my life. I was 108 kilos. I was running 111.1. I was benching 64 kilos. No, I wasn't. I was benching a little bit more than that. I wasn't benching 64 kilos because I didn't go to the gym. No, I was in peak physical condition. I scored a hat trick at fly half for Wasps in the Premiership. I met the Pope on a Friday and scored a hat trick for Ireland on the Saturday. at inside centre. I then played in one of the midweek games and I scored a hat-trick for the Lions at outside centre. So I'm in good shape. And now selection, I can't gauge selection. I'm not on the committee. So all I can do, as I say, make sure that I'm in the best physical condition that I could be, which I was. Confident, obviously, because when you're playing well, when you're winning games, when you're on top of your game, when your mind is uncluttered, it allows you to that space to be able to play. And going on that, I genuinely thought that I had as good a chance as anyone to play in that team.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely did, because there was no one on the squad that I feared. I didn't fear the opposition. I didn't really think about it. I only thought about the opposition when teams are announced, and you're in the team, because then you can start thinking about it. And I'd think about it days before. As soon as the team's announced, that night I'd be thinking about the opposition. I'd be thinking about various bits and pieces around the field and what I'd do in those. So by the time the game came, I'd already played the game 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times all around the paddock. So I was a bit more aware of what could go well, what could go badly, and what I was going to do in those situations. And similarly, I didn't give it any stead with regards to selection. Everyone's a good player that goes and plays for the British and Irish Lions, and then it's just a question of, are you right on the day? Because sometimes selection swings on. Actually, it's peeing down with rain. This back row forward might be a top of the ground runner. This one's a real dog. I'm going with the dog, even though he's playing it out of his skin. So selection can be down to the elements. It can be down to the opposition team. There are many different factors. All you've got to be is be ready to go when the call comes, and that's more important than focusing on, can I beat him or can I beat him to get there. No, if the call comes, I'm ready.
You obviously played all 3 tests in that series in 2001, and fair to say Australia actually a really strong team at that particular moment. Did you ever, when you put on a Lions jersey and you're about to run out into the stadium, first test, did you ever have a quiet moment of reflection and think, well, geez, I've come a long way from my background where I grew up?
Do you know what? No, I didn't. I think the night before, I remember it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and because obviously it was an evening game, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have to say this, unfortunately, I mean, I don't anymore. I was having a toot upstairs, wandering around the corridors, and I bumped into Steve Black. And Steve Black, God rest him, he's not with us anymore, but he was our psychological, motivational rock. He was just an unbelievable man that he just sensed when you needed something, and he found me. I don't know how he found me, because I was off in the shadows, and he found me, and he came up and he just put his arm around me, he sat down, and he talked to me about, are you nervous about tonight? I said, well, yeah, a little bit, but not overly. I just don't want to let anyone down. And then he started giving you words of encouragement, and it just kind of settles you down a little bit. I think the part for me is that I've never reflected and said, oh, Jesus, didn't I do well? No, I've never done that, because it was just part of the journey that I was on. The one thing that I remember from the Lions tour is when we lost 2-1 against the Tri-Nations champions, the current world champions, in their own backyard. I mean, anyone whose captain is nicknamed Nobody, because nobody's perfect, is you're in trouble. I mean, they've got Larkham, Latham, John Eales, Georgie Gregan, Matt Burke. They've got an unbelievable team. But when we had lost the series, I remember walking down the road with my wife Angie, and this chap came up to me from Cork, and he said, listen, I just want you to know we're so proud of you. We're so proud of all the Irish lads. We're proud of the Lions for what you've done. I've sold this and that to come out here. And I said, listen, I'm really, really sorry we couldn't get it over the line. It's a brilliant series. I'm really sorry we couldn't get it over the line. And I don't know what to say, but thank you for all your support. And the only thing I could do was I took my blazer off. You only get one, and I gave him my Lions blazer.
Wow.
And I said, I'm really sorry. I know you sold your car. You can't drive that to Mallow, but at least you'll be warm when you walk waiting for the bus. I take the blazer, and that for me was a wonderful moment of, okay, it's over now. The the tour is over. Unfortunately, the series is lost. But I'm connecting with some of the people that's all about. It's all about the supporters. Rugby is about the supporters, about the players, and having that connection straight afterwards. And him saying we're very, very proud of you, even though we'd lost a series, was quite humbling, to be honest with you. And so there you go. That's someone telling us that even though you've failed, which we failed. We didn't win the series. Even though you failed, we're proud of you because you gave it everything, because you tried your best, because you put it all on the line. We can't be disappointed with you, and that's really strong. And I think, and again, that goes back to testing yourself, testing your peers, testing your mates, testing your family, testing your friends, testing everybody, and also giving yourself to everything. And that was a moment for me. Not yes, aren't I great because I've reached the top of the mountain? No, because to be honest with you, I'm scared of heights. So I'd have to have someone lead me down. Unfortunately, on that night, it was my wife Angie.
Just took points of reflection on that, Hendo. Firstly, what a moment of leadership from Steve Black, because you probably spotted,
incredible,
pressure. So he's probably there trying to take a bit of pressure off, and I mean that's just like a wonderful story. And you probably answered my next question, which is I was going to say, how do you process? Like you had a massively talented team, and you probably should have won the series, but you didn't win it. And how do you process that with having such a wonderful team? I mean, what do you go through? And I suppose the act of meeting a supporter gives you a kind of reality about it, and the fact you tried your best and the impact you had on that supporter.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. By the way, let's go back to Steve Black. Yes, he was inspirational, and he was unbelievable from a mental perspective, a coaching perspective, just a calming, soothing influence on the entire team. But he was also, and I'm not speaking ill of him because he was a good friend. He was also nuts because he'd have you on a training paddock. Right, lads, I want you to run around at 60%. Now make it 90. Now make it 120. And as soon as he said 120%, I'll never forget it. Austin Healy stops, turns around, and goes, "Blackie, with the greatest respect, mate, no one can run at 120%. So he had his moments. But, I think that connectivity and actually that was 2001. You're talking about the connectivity with the players and the supporters. I mean, it was a sea of red wherever we went, and the Australians had never seen anything like it. They turned the lights off in the stadium in the second test. They put all the Lions supporters up in the gods on the third test. Because they were trying to negate the impact that Munster have got a famous 16th man, and that was the 16th man for us. They were amazing, and it was the end of a long season for the Lions. I mean, it's jam-packed full of household names at the time, but then again, you go through any era, there's going to be household names. Really great players that would stand the test of time. And we just ran out of petrol. We ran out of a few injuries, and we're playing against a really good side. But again, I saw Jono recently. It's still one of the biggest regrets of his life is that we didn't win that series. But again, let's look at that as a positive. Regret is a wonderful thing because you don't want that to happen again. So if you see that sort of situation arising, let's just draw on that. Let's see what went wrong. Let's see whether we can change it or whether it was bad luck, bad fortune, what have you. Let's change the changeables. There's some things you can change in life. There's some things you can't. So don't dwell on the ones you can't. React to the things you can and don't do it again. Because Einstein's theory of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's stupidity. So let alone Einstein's theory. So learn from the things that you can change that went wrong in the past. Learn from the things that went really well and improve on those if you can. And that then breeds future ongoing success.
Is it fair to say that 2001 tour? I remember our old friend Richie Hunter going down to the hotel where you're all doing the training, the stuff you do, the team bonding before you go out. And he said, I remember him saying to me, "God, these guys are all superstars now." And was that 2001? Do you think there was more pressure because it was the first? I know '97 was massive, but 2001 professional rugby had really set in. And was it a different experience, you think, from other tours?
No, I think to be honest with you, '97 was amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
the guys in '97 going to South Africa and beating the world champions there was unbelievable. And I remember watching the games and screaming at the television, really vested in that. And then being out there in '01, okay, it was we'd been professional for 4 years now at this stage, 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. There was no more, but there was a little bit of pressure because of obviously never having lost to Australia. I mean, obviously they'd only played them twice, maybe once, I think it was in '89, and came back from losing the first test and lost and won 2-1. We won the first test and lost 2-1. And actually, there's been some great matches and battles ever since, and we're the only ones that have lost actually in Australia, which is a little bit annoying, not upsetting, a little bit annoying. But going out there and all of us getting together, we weren't superstars. No one thinks of, and that leads to individualism. If someone thinks they're a superstar, then they're not working for the collective, and there's no place for that. We've all been in teams, Fitzy, we've been in teams where you can spot it a mile off. And rugby's actually really good at wheedling out those characters, those individuals, and either easing that trait out of the individual or easing the individual out of the team because it doesn't work. So you've we were just players that had come together, that had been brought together, not thrown together, brought together to represent the British and Irish Lions, and there's a lot of pride in there. So there wasn't any sensationalism or look at me stardom or fandom or whatever. It was all about, okay, now what can we do to make this successful? How can we bring this together to make sure that people look back fondly and there are no regrets.
So you after the Lions tour, you in 2001 you moved to Munster. Munster's culture is world famous. In that particular time, they had so many characters and great players within it. How did you feel that Munster shaped you, perhaps in different ways than other clubs like the Irish Wasps, different environments, and specifically did that environment challenge you most in?
Well, there's no hiding place. There's absolutely no hiding place. When you play for any of the provinces, Fitzy, you'll know. Whenever you play for any of the provinces, there's no hiding place because the club is part of the community. And if you've dropped a ball at the weekend or you've made a mistake at the weekend, you'll hear it at one end of O'Connell Street, and then someone else will have their own opinion down the bottom end, and you can't get away from it. So, but as players, we challenged ourselves as well because it was such a close knit, tight community. But every team I've played with has been. London Irish is amazing, apart from maybe the week before the last game. Wasps was amazing. Munster was amazing. Even moving forward when I went to Toulon, amazing. Just to be, and it's a crap word, I know, but it's the only one I've got. But the team kind of regulated itself. You're in a team full of internationals. There's 20 internationals in that side that are all actually, you're not only vying for a place in the Munster team, you're also vying for a place in the Ireland team with your mate that you're playing with. And sometimes when you're playing AAL matches, you'd be in the same team as them as well. So there was kind of there's a tri-party whip on going on that you got three strands that you're competing against. So we kind of self-policed ourselves and self-governed ourselves. So yes, Declan Kidney, Alan Gaffney, all the other great coaches that have been down there with Munster have helped mould the team to a tactical position, but fundamentally we're all beholden to each other. So if I let you down, Moo, you'd let me know. Similarly, Fitzy, you'd let me know, and vice versa. So we regulated ourselves, we policed ourselves, and it was really, as with the other clubs, a real family, tight-knit community. And it reminded me of a junior rugby club, but with a professional attitude. And I quoted that, and it was on one of the walls down in Thomond Park for a while. Hopefully it's still there. That was the feel that you got. You were playing with your friends, you were playing with your family, you were playing for your community, and you didn't want to let anyone down. And that's always been the same for me in every single team that I've played in, um, and to be able to play in one of the teams that have been so close in the Heineken Cup on multiple years, and then for them to finally get there, was a nice way to be part of the journey again, and a nice way to conclude when they won it in 2006.
Yeah.
It's what an absolute privilege to play down there. It's a unique place, isn't it? In Munster and Limerick.
Oh, well, I remember going to, and it's funny actually because I played with two clubs in the AIL down there. I played with Gary Owen, and I started with Young Munster with my old mate Peter Classy, and we were training one night at Derry Knockhan, and I've just come back from the Lions, British and Irish Lions, play in front of 90,000 people in the Olympic Stadium, and it's millions watching it around the globe, and you're training at Derry Knockhan for Young Munster, and I've turned up with the new boots and the sharp kit and all the rest of it, and I see lads strapping carrier bags onto their socks before they put the boots on. I said, "What are you doing?" Anyway, as you walk out, I've walked maybe 3 yards. I'm halfway up my shin in a puddle of mud. Okay. Now, if ever there were delusions of grandeur, this is it. You're now back down to earth with a bang, and you get on with it. So, but having joined Munster, I joined Munster because they were one of the best teams. Again, it was career progression. It wasn't for financial gain. I joined Munster for less money than I was on at Wasps. It was about career progression. They were one of the best teams in Europe, consistently one of the best teams in Europe. Mm-hmm. There was a sway that if you wanted to play internationally, you had to be playing in Ireland. I think they were the forerunners. I think Wales are trying to do that, have been trying to do that over the past few seasons. And I wanted to still continue my journey. I didn't think I was finished yet. So test myself again against the best in Europe on a regular basis, and then see where that led to. And I had 5 wonderful years with the Munster team, and as you say, winning the Celtic League, Celtic Cup, winning the Heineken Cup. Some people would have said in 2006 I had my best position that day. I was on the bench, but it was a supporting role, and you need people on the bench as on the pitch. And watching on as Munster beat Biarritz with 70,000, 80,000 people, Munster fans inside in the stadium in Cardiff, and another 100,000 watching it on the streets in Limerick and Cork. It was just incredible. It was great scenes, and yeah, very, very special time with very special people.
But just looking back in there as well, I've got two questions because I know time's dragging on a bit for you. Firstly, so Clive Woodward, just like in the early days of London Irish and what he was like. Is it true that he wanted you to scrum down at tight head prop for a couple of scrums?
Well, he's obviously got a time machine. I mean, some of his theories were like the mad professor from Back to the Future. So he's obviously thought, in 25 years' time, Hendo's going to be 18 stone. Why don't I preempt that and lob him in the front row now?
Did you enjoy it, Hendo? I just remember your face that scrum session. You know?
When you enjoy something, you get in and you go wherever you want. If it had told me to go in at hooker, I would have done. If it had said go second row, I would have done. It was all about, okay, if this guy is crazy enough to try this out, let's just be open to change. Because if you are stuck in your own ways and you're stuck in your own methods, and we spoke earlier on about the fact that he was changing shirt numbers and shirt sizes and doing various different bits and pieces. I mean, banning booze from the change room after a match, kind of draw the line at that, but especially in the early days. But trying things out. Don't be afraid to try things out. Don't be afraid to embrace change and adopt new policies and principles. Because you never know. Sometimes it might work and sometimes it might be fun. I mean, who was it? Edison. Everyone was laughing at him when he couldn't get a light bulb, wasn't it? And he said, you failed again. No, I now know another way not to make a light bulb. And eventually he got it. So.
That's wise words. I mean, Clive was never shy of trying something new and different, and some of them were a little bit left field, but a lot of them were, as you said there, way ahead of their time. And proved a few years later to be, a very successful methodology.
Absolutely.
And going Rob Henderson now in 2026. What lessons from rugby do you bring into your business career in terms of what you do now?
Jesus, there's many things, many things. I mean, one thing, you can't do it on your own. You can't do it on your own unless you're a unicyclist. You can't do it on your own, right? So you need support. You need a team of people. You need confidants that you can bounce ideas off, that you can trust, that you can learn from, that you can adapt and evolve, because everything's always evolving. So you can't do it on your own. So teamwork is really important. Honesty is important. Knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're bad at, and being receptive to people telling you what your blind spots are, where your gaps are, and not being offended by it, but actually being almost thankful for it, to say, actually, I hadn't even considered that. So teamwork, honesty, attitude and application are really key, because if you're going to do anything at all and you are not committed to it, I said it earlier on about decision making, there's a good decision, there's a bad decision, and the worst thing is no decision. So application, if you're going to do something, make sure that you've measured twice and cut once. So don't run around with your hair on fire. Be considered and be considerate about what you're contemplating doing, and then even have a pre-run, have a warm-up, something. Run it by people. Test your theories. Test your commitments, and then go hard and apply and have that drive. Be focused, and whatever you do in whatever walk of life, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it. I know my failings. I'm terrible at admin. I'm not the worst, but I'm definitely not the best. So I've got someone working with me that's fantastic from a kind of COO perspective that looks after those elements. And there's 6-7 of us in the building now. Oh no, I said it, didn't I? 6-7. Is that still a thing amongst the kids?
You're asking the two wrong people there.
Well, have a look. This is not the youth of today, right? This is, but I've lost my train of thought after that now. The youth of today.
6-7 of you in an office.
Yeah. So there's a few of us in the business. There's a few of us in the business, and having different strengths and different weaknesses that are compatible, and being able to embrace the good and support the bad, I think is really important, because every single person on this planet is an individual fingerprint. Everybody is different, and what works for one person might not work for someone else. And actually I'm going back to the empathy piece, understanding what makes people tick. Will understand, actually, do you know what? I think you're a brilliant employee or you're a brilliant teammate, but you're in the wrong role. I think you should be doing this one. And sometimes it's about moving the pieces around to create the right balance. And I think that whole team ethos and rowing in the same direction is absolutely fundamental to success.
Yeah, it's two very important points often overlooked about leadership, which is like empathy and humour as well, which are two leadership qualities and sadly overlooked a lot nowadays, I think.
Well, there's a story that a friend of mine's a top motivational speaker in Europe, and I actually learned quite a lot from him. I've read a few of his business books, and he was telling me a story about a chap's EA who was leaving. She'd been with him for 25 years. And she was leaving, and he'd invited her into the office, and he gave her a Jeroboam of Cristal. Wow, amazing, absolutely amazing. As she walked out, she's there with a friend of hers. She burst into tears, and her friend said, "Why are you crying? Are you emotional with the gift that you've just received?" And she said, "Well, I've been his EA for 25 years, and clearly he doesn't know that I'm teetotal. So after all that time of being together, being with someone, but actually not taking the time to find out a little bit more about what makes this person tick, about what this person actually enjoys, what would be beneficial, and what might improve their relationship through the course. And it was only at the end where she figured out, actually, he doesn't even know me.
Yeah. That's a fascinating insight, and a lot of leaders don't really get to know the people that they're leading. Certainly in business, and that's the problem. So moving on, Hendo, quick fire questions.
Yes.
Just to finish off. Don't overthink them. Just speak from the heart. So I'm going to throw in another name to question one, which is Hicker Reid, Clive Woodward, Nigel Melville, Graham Henry. One word about each. Go. You can do 2 or 3 if you want, Hendo.
So you say the name, I'll give you the word.
Hicker Reid.
Nuts.
I was going to say that. Clive Woodward.
2 words, equally nuts. What was he? He was inspirational, tactician.
Okay, question 2. The moment you knew the Lions squad place was yours, what were you doing when the call came?
I was sitting at my house in Teddington, Old Station Gardens. I rang a mate of mine that lived in Thames Ditton, who I played with at Wasps, called Simon Mitchell. I picked up 8 cans of Guinness, a bottle of fizz, and we went round his house and we got totaled.
I was going to say, that Battersea moment, Hendo, on that Guinness Flamingo, where you thought that's good. It might have been there. Okay, the business leader you worked with since retiring, who's reminds you most of a good rugby coach?
Wow. Well, I've had a couple. Who would I say? Julian Ingle, I think. Julian Ingle, who was he worked with a business called Cobalt. I was a mortgage broker when I first left and came back on Sloane Street when I first roll out of professional sport. He looked like a bit like Billy Mack from Love Actually, but didn't sing quite as well as him. But he was very, very articulate. He was very considered in his approach. He was warm and welcoming. He listened to ideas. He was technically brilliant, and he was happy to give advice, but also play second fiddle in meetings where me, as the new guy, was coming in, and he was kind of giving me, as they say in horse racing, giving me the reins to be able to actually take some ownership, take some leadership. So I think he would have made a really good rugby coach.
Excellent. And the one thing that business leaders think they're legends at doing, but you think they're getting badly wrong from a sports perspective?
I think it's listening to your team. You can give a team direction, but if you're delivering it in the wrong way, your team might love you, but if you're telling them something incorrectly and it's not being received in the right fashion, then it's not going to be delivered in the way that you're anticipating. So there's going to be a blockage going down and a blockage coming back. So it's having that latitude to be able to have obviously someone's got to have the name above the door. And if you're driving a team, you've still got to take responsibility, but be part of that team as well, to be able to look at it through one of your team's eyes. So there's no point asking someone to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, first and foremost. But be able to say, actually, I can see where the shortcomings are, where the pitfalls are, and let's collaborate on this. If there is a blockage, what's going wrong? Be receptive to change. Be receptive to not negative comments, but transitional concepts. Because you might have a really good idea, but so might 2 or 3 people in your team, and if you can build all that together, now you're all rowing in the same direction. Think of it as an 8, a pairs in a boat race. If you've got everyone rowing in the same direction apart from one person, there's going to be a shambles. So just to get that cultural fit, directional mobility, that's really, really essential.
And last question, Hendo, it's probably a bit unfair because you played with I'm going to change the last question, actually. You played with so many great players and been coached by so many great leaders. Is there one that stands out to be the best leader in your sporting career, and why would they stand out?
Difficult to pick a leader, to be perfectly honest with you, because there's been many fantastic captains, coaches, teammates, and supporters, actually. Another player, unfortunately, has passed away. Do you remember Mick O'Neill? He used to stand on the touchline at London Irish.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ryan's old man. He used to stand on the side of the pitch and he'd be speaking outside the side of his mouth, and he'd be telling you how to tackle someone, and he'd be telling you how to pass the ball, and he'd be telling you what you should be doing. So, I mean, he was an armchair leader, but by Christ, you could hear him. As a player, I think the best player would probably be Jimmy White. I played one frame of snooker against Jimmy White in a hotel in Limerick. I was 7-0 up, and then he beat me 114-7, which proves why he was an unbelievably talented snooker player and I was a rugby player.
How many pints did you have with him afterwards?
Oh, no, we were on the shorts at that point.
And I'll ask a question of Fitzy, actually. Fitzy, who's the best leader you ever played with or been coached by as well? You say it was unfair.
You're not supposed to do this, Moo, and put me on the spot.
His take on it.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you both this question then. Who's the best leader at London Irish that you've ever played with, or Ireland, or coached by, would you say, at London Irish?
Coach?
Yeah. Or
Well,
captain?
I mean, I thought Gatti was brilliant. I really did. I think he got the nth degree, and he's been successful in every single club, country that he's been involved with. The club, country, and Lions. I think his record speaks for itself. Was absolutely outrageous. So he'd be well up there for me.
I would be inclined to agree. I mean, I think what he did better than I've seen anybody else do is to really immerse himself in the culture of the team, the country, the environment that he's in, and really touch upon those, because each place, Munster's different from Ulster, Wasps is different from London Irish, Ireland's different to Wales. There are obviously some similarities, but there are some big differences as well. And I think he did a great job and a real, really could find those key points, that secret sauce, and immerse himself in it, even if he wasn't born and raised within that environment. Hendo, absolutely fantastic having you join us today. This is exactly what the show's built for, the stuff underneath the results. The stuff nobody likes to talk about in the moment, from Willie's changing room to the Lions to Thurman Park. There are people running organisations right now that would pay good money to understand what you've just described. We appreciate your time and honesty, and thank you, old friend, for joining us on the business end.
Absolute pleasure, boys, and hope to see you both very, very soon.
Thank you.